Hello and welcome back to the Coronado Museum YouTube channel. Coronado Museum is in association with the Rice County Historical Society here in Rice County, Kansas. And today I'm going to give you a very brief, a little bit of a summary lecture about one of the people we're named after, Francisco Vazquez de Coronado. Okay, here we go. Now, at the end of this little talk and that, we're going to have a bit of an announcement, so stay tuned. All right. Coronado was born in 1510 in Salamanca, Spain. He was born to an impoverished, very, very poor noble family, which not unusual in Southern Europe. He was the second son, so what little inheritance he could have had, he didn't get any of it. So his life was meant to be, he had to go out on his own. So he went to adventuring. In 1535, when he was only 25 years old, he sailed for New Spain, what we now call Mexico, and that. He was nobility, and he was upwardly mobile and ambitious. He married into the Estrada family, and that became part of the new Spanish elite in their new colony that they just conquered from the Aztecs. He became, very quickly, in 1539, he became governor of Nueva Galicia, New Galicia, and that, which is now known as it's the states in western Mexico, and that. When he was governor in that, Franciscan friars who were traveling around the Spanish new conquered territory and that, told him stories of these 7 cities of gold and unbelievable riches to the north. Being a man who understood poverty and was now part of the elite, he was fascinated by this. He wanted the gold for himself and for Spain. Gold and God, as they say in the Spanish Empire. In 1540, he gathered an expedition, and that with monks, friars, and that, and of course, soldiers, 330 armed Spaniards, and along with them, some Aztec allies, and that possibly linguistic ties, also good warriors. But they also brought, and this is going to be a theme, they brought enslaved indigenous peoples and thousands of livestock. They went. Coronado made it through. He made it up through Mexico, and that made it into what today we would call New Mexico and Arizona, and I was following a trail. We'll get into that a little bit later, too. There's something special about that. Anyway, by 1541, after he was following along and he had a Pawnee guide that the expedition nicknamed El Turco, which means the Turk. And then they said he kind of resembled a Turk. And of course he didn't. He was a native, he was a Pawnee. But I'll get back to him later too. Anyway, in 1541, they entered what is today Kansas. They crossed the Arkansas River, right near Dodge City and that. And El Turco led them right around here, believe it or not, right here around Rice County, McPherson County, Saline County, and that. And what Coronado found was not these great 7 cities of gold, and that he found something even more remarkable, but it wasn't to him. He found a settlement. He found Quivira. Quivira was a settlement of what archaeologists postulate might have been as many as 30,000 people. There were there were actually groups of settlements, and that. But what Coronado found wasn't gold. He found farmers. He found traders. He found people who were wearing skins. He found grass huts like we have here in the museum. He wasn't very pleased. El Turco, the Turk, and that the Pawnee guide, admitted to him that the Pueblo people in New Mexico kind of convinced him to lead the Spanish up here so they would go off into the wilderness and die. Coronado, being not a very nice man, and that had El Turco strangled. And yeah, he was not cool. But anyway, Coronado and that left Quivira after a while, and that in disgrace broke, and it ruined him financially. The Spanish Cortez was not thrilled with him either, and stuff like that, and as you can go into further reading. Now, anyway, this was just a very, very brief summary of Coronado's expedition. If you want to add more comments about it, and that, just look into the comments and add your input. We'd be more than willing to read it. Also, too, there's other further readings and stuff like that about Coronado and his expedition. The Entrada, they even made a play in 1941 about it called The Entrada. And there's many books on Coronado. But also, too, speaking of Coronado, the story of Coronado is not over. And that he may have died, several centuries ago, but archaeologists are still looking for his trail. We have evidence that he was around here. In fact, the search is so vehement and so focused right now that we've determined that the trail that we traditionally knew as Coronado's trail isn't quite correct. It's actually moved. And hopefully this summer we're going to be having, new announcements to make and stuff like that because the hunt continues. Anyway, thank you very much, and thank you for listening, and hope to see you soon here at Coronado Museum in Lyons, Kansas. Take care.